Our first guest on this episode previously joined us a week into the current season. He just swapped leading Forest Green Rovers to last season's Sky Bet League 2 title for trying to restore the fortunes of Sky Bet Championship returnees Watford. 10 games, like so many before him, he had departed Vicarage Road. Then 2 months later, Rob Edwards became the man Luton Town turned to replace Nathan Jones, a 19-mile journey between historical rivals. You're worried about what this first question is, aren't you? And how I can tell just by looking at your face. But I have to ask you, the whole consideration of two local rivals, did that at any point come up in the chat with Luton from their perspective, from your perspective? What would both sets of fans think, etc.?
Yeah, it did, Clem. I think it had to. Our football club is obviously, owned by supporters of the football club, and the board of supporters. So they had to be sure as well. So I think, they'd spoken to a lot of people, and they wanted to. Obviously, we had to speak to make sure everyone was right with it and okay. But I'm really pleased that they deemed me to be the right person, or to come in and be a part of this, because it's a special place, a special club. But of course, we had to. Yeah, we had quite a lot of discussions about what had gone on before. But I think, if we're being honest, the opportunity, and we spoke about it, back at the beginning of the season, as you touched on there, it was an amazing opportunity for us to go into, Richie and I, to go in at Watford. And okay, it was very, very short. We feel now we've got somewhere that will give us that support and hopefully a little bit more time.
Has it changed you, the Watford experience?
No, I don't think so. I don't have any regrets. I'm really, really honest. Don't have any regrets. I think it was a tough period because there was a lot going on, on and off the pitch. Transfer window was very, very busy and hectic. We'd have obviously liked to won more games, but we weren't doing too bad. You know what I mean? So in terms of results, it's very early on, and we were trying to change. We were trying to shift the culture. I mean, the year before hadn't been great in the I know it was in the Premier League. It was difficult for them to win games, and so my main focus was to try and shift that culture, that environment, to a winning environment, a winning culture, and that can take a bit of a while, but I don't think it's changed me. I know football can be ruthless, and when you're in this game, it happens, doesn't it, Clem? And like I said, we went in with our eyes wide open. We knew that it could be the case at Watford. We hoped it wouldn't be, and I think everyone that goes there believes in themselves and backs themselves to be able to get some time there. But unfortunately, we couldn't.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess. Sorry, I've forgotten the circumstances. You did have obviously a spell in charge of non-league Telford. Did you get the boot there, or did you leave of your own volition? I mean, was this the first time he had tasted having the rug pulled from under you?
As a manager or head coach, yeah. When it happened just before I took the Telford job at Wolves, when Nuno and his staff came in. I was part of the first, the first team coach at Wolves. So there's 5 or 6 of us there that lost our jobs. But I was lucky enough to come back in a year later after Telford. So no, it's the first time it happened. It's happened to me, and it's happened to almost every manager, hasn't it? And so I'm not alone there. No, so it's something that you try and learn from. You try and think, okay, what do I take from that experience? What can I do better? What did we do well? Even as well, you try and take those things and bring them to the next one, Clem.
Yeah, but it is said that some of the senior managers kind of ring you the day it's happened or the day after and say, "Oh, you're a proper manager now that you've tasted that."
Yeah, I think a few people had said that. I think a few people, I got lots of nice messages from people, and it's good that the footballing community, I suppose, comes together, and whether it's yourself or people in the journalists or in the media, or whether it's fellow managers or people, friends that are in the game, it's nice that you get a lot of kind messages. And yeah, look, it happens. We all know that. We all know it's not through a lack of effort and a lack of trying. Sometimes things that just don't work out. And I suppose the frustrating thing about that one was we'll never really know if it would have worked out, in a way. But there's no point in dwelling on it.
No. Is it a tough challenge to get your messaging right in your position now? Because on the one hand, obviously you've got to say all the right things for your new employers. They are where your loyalty lies. By the same token, I always think when new managers leave jobs, you're always so dignified and careful for whatever reason, but you're always so dignified about being careful with your words about your last employer. So does that leave you with a little bit of a treading on eggshells these first few weeks until you get a few games under your belt with Luton, saying the right things?
I think I'll always try and say the right. I want to be respectful. There's a lot of brilliant people at Watford, and that, people that are in football. Every football club, there's great people there. So I'll always be respectful, and I am thankful for that opportunity, as brief as it was. I'm frustrated and disappointed that it didn't go on, it didn't last longer. But without that, I wouldn't be in this position now. And I've got to be honest, it's only a couple of weeks in. I'm delighted to be here. No, I'm really, really early days, and we haven't had a game yet. But it's got a fantastic feel about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've had a topsy-turvy couple of months, haven't you? Because for all you say you got phone calls of support, you were also linked to just about every job that came up as well, which I guess keeps you buoyant and lets you feel that the market still appreciates you and doesn't see your departure from your last employers necessarily in the same light that the hierarchy there did. So were you a busy old fella over those 6-7 weeks up and down the motorway, having a few chats?
Yeah, there's a few chats, a few conversations, which was nice. You're right that the phone wasn't silent for a few weeks, which was great. So it's the first, like we said before, it's the first time it's happened to me as a head coach or a manager. So you're not fully sure how to deal with that time. I was doing it, obviously, and we got an 8-year-old son and a couple of we got a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old. So the girls walk themselves to school. But it's nice to do the school run a few times with the little man and take him, make sandwiches. But then you're not sure how long that's going to go on for. So people, think, right, do we go away? Should we try and get a week away or something like that? But we couldn't really. I had a few conversations with 1 or 2 clubs, and then you're sort of thinking, okay, something could happen. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange time, but nice to speak to other people. Nice, like you said, to be in those conversations, because you never know. And yeah, I got at some games and spoke to some people at some good meetings. So, and it was only whatever it was, 5 or 6 weeks in the end, I think, something like that. So it wasn't too long. So it's a chance to refresh a little bit and before all the madness begins again.
Yeah. Was it important to get this one right? Was it important that you did feel you were putting your square peg into a square hole and not into a round one?
Yeah, you're right, Clemmit. The next one for us had to be somewhere where we feel we'd get, that support. And of course, we've got to do the business. We've got to work extremely hard. There's got to be a plan. We've got to be good people. I'd like to think we do all those things. But it was important for us to be able to pick our owners and the people we're going to work for and with, as much as they're picking us.
You've got big shoes to fill, obviously, and a guy that helped to reposition the club, along with a lot of other people behind the scenes, but a guy in Nathan Jones that helped to reposition the club from the lower end of League Two to playoffs to get into the Premier League last year. The conversation with the owners there, they obviously appreciate that you will want to put your own stamp on, but but maybe move it on from the position you inherit it, rather than bearing in mind where it was a few years ago? Does that make sense as a question?
Yeah, it does make sense, and I think it's something that we've spoken about when I had the initial conversations with people at the club. Anyway, that we've got to be really respectful of the brilliant work that Nathan, Chris, and Alan had done with everyone else here at the football club as well. So I've never taken over anywhere, halfway through a season before. But what we're doing, we're taking over something that's already going pretty well, a well-oiled machine. A team that got in the playoffs last year, a team that's 1 point or so off the playoffs this season. So this doesn't need ripping up and starting again. It's being respectful of and continuing to do all the really good things that everyone does here, players and staff. And then you're right, trying to then gradually evolve and try and improve. Because Nathan, if he'd stayed here, we want to carry on to improve and move things forward. Anyway, that's what we all want to do. So we all want to try and grow and keep improving as players, as individuals, and that's also us as people and coaches as well.
I mean, he had this Jack in the Box personality on the touchline. Is there any possibility that kind of some of the performances are hewn in the passion and the energy of the manager, that it's one of the characteristics of the mix that you inherit? And is that a situation you're mindful of as well? Maybe a bad performance, and you know what Nathan was like. I used to message him and say, you're gonna spontaneously combust if you're not careful. Some teams need it sometimes, Rob, don't they? That they need to see the manager jumping up and down on the touchlines. Are you kind of aware of that dynamic within the mix?
I'm aware of elements of how Nathan would have worked, but obviously I've got to be myself and I've got to be me as well. And I've said that from day one to the players and the staff, that, like I said, I want to be able to keep that intensity, the way that we play. I want to be able to keep that, and that's in our DNA as a football club. That grit and the passion that the players show and the supporters show and they love. We need to keep that. So that remains. And then, as I say, but I have to then be me. So I'll have to try and gauge it and do what I do and try and understand at times there might be games where we've got to go from, and I might have to be more animated than others. But that's then down to me. What I hope is that the way we work in the week and the training and the messages that we get across, the players know that's what they're about and what we're about anyway. But of course, I think our job as coaches, as managers, is to recognise, what the players need at that particular moment. Do you know what I mean, Clem? So there is times where, okay, I've got to go after him here, and I'm going to have to be animated. The jacket might be off, and it's right. I'm halfway down the touchline, or there might be a time to just be okay. I can be chilled. The lads are at it. They've got it in hand. They know what they're doing, and we can be calm.
Yeah, it's one of those techniques, isn't it, that I don't think people fully appreciate. I think that sometimes they think when a manager is jumping up and down on the touchline, it's because they're unhappy. But some managers do it for an effect. It becomes part of the characteristic of getting a performance.
I think so. I think you can play. There's elements where you can, and I think you see some of the top ones do it. They can play to the crowd. They get the crowd going, and it becomes a bit of a performance to ignite something and get something going. If there's a lack of energy or there's a lethargy in the game or whatever, you see it sometimes on the pitch. You can spark a game into life with a tackle or something. Especially in England, it can really start something. So yeah, I think we can see that, especially now with the quality, the caliber of the coaches that we've got right the way through the football pyramid, from the top, all the way through. And I've experienced a lot of that now. Definitely, sometimes there's a tactical battle on the touchline as well, and who can have that effect. And so, especially when we experienced it in League Two, you can sometimes have more of an effect because people can hear you more. So it was a little bit easier there to affect the game from the touchline.
Rob, do you mind sharing with us a little bit, maybe the first encounter with the players? I know you've had, I don't know whether you'd inherited a situation where they were off for a week or 10 days because of the World Cup break, but when you got them all together, is that a nerve-wracking moment when you're facing them for the first time? Are you aware of the fact you need to get the tone, pitch perfect with that first encounter? Or did you do it as individuals?
No, I spoke to them as a group, and then I'm still trying to pick off individuals as we go now, and you continue to do that right the way throughout, because it's important to have that, that rapport with the players. But you want to get the tone right, Clem, of course, and I was really aware of that. So there's always a few, butterflies, because you're speaking to a new group and you're aware of all the players, and I might have spoken to one or two of them on the phone, or actually played with one or two of them, but now I'm in this position and I'm sat right there.
Who have you played with?
Well, so Jordan Clark was a young lad at Barnsley right towards the end of my career, and then Henry Lansbury and I were both on loan at Norwich together as well. The year that they went back-to-back promotions, so the second year in the Championship when we got promoted to the Premier League, Henry and I had 3 months there together. So that was, again, a long time ago, obviously. But so yeah, aware of one or two of them, and knew a couple. And I think that the key for this one, Clem, was to recognise the really good work that everyone is already doing. So I think it's important. I'd like to think that we're very humble people anyway, but I think coming across with a lot of humility was really important, because I wasn't going to come in and go, right, it's going to be this way now, lads. Never mind what you've done before. So recognise how well Nathan and the guys have done, and you and all the staff. And then I always try to talk about what the players are going to get from us as a group of staff first, and how we're going to try and be with them, and then talk a little bit about things that we sort of not expect in return, but just sort of a few, not non-negotiables, but almost the things that we want in return: respect and honesty and those kinds of values and stuff like that. A little bit of football chat, but not too much, and away we go. So I think I like to think we pitched it right, and we've had a really good response in the first 10 days or so. I've got to be honest, we've got a brilliant group of lads, which you can tell. You can see that from on the pitch when they play.
Yeah.
They're such a together group. They're so honest, so hardworking. So it's a case of keep that going, lads. We're not going to stop that, and we've got to keep our foot to the floor and keep pushing.
Yeah, and because you inherited a situation that, as you say, was a good one, you weren't replacing a manager that had been sacked. Were you able to have some conversation with your predecessor, just to almost do a little mini handover, or is that not done?
I did have a chat with Nathan as well, and he was brilliant. Gave him a text and said, congratulations, if you get 5 minutes, can you give me a call? And he called me straight away, and we had a really good chat. He couldn't have been more positive about this football club, as you could imagine. Do you know what I mean? He loves the club. Yeah. He's such a big part of what they've done, and he was so positive about every member of staff and the players. He's as I say, been a big part in bringing this group together and shaping it, and the environment, I've got to say, is brilliant. There's a group of lads and staff who love being around each other. They have a laugh. They work really hard. And like I said, that reflects then in the performances on a match day as well, Clem. So the key for us is going to be keep that going. Keep demanding more. You know what I mean? Keep demanding more. We need to see more of that. But we're very lucky to be coming into a place like this that's, like I said, in the position that it's in. If it was something different, we were in the bottom three and struggling, then of course that first meeting is different as well. The first meeting, probably right, this is how it's going to be. Yeah. But that wasn't needed now.
Yeah. It's one of those clubs where they don't take no for an answer, isn't it? They've moved mountains. There's some great people involved. Obviously, finally, the long talked about stadium project is underway as well. It is one of those cultures where I just wouldn't rule anything out with that football club.
No, and they've been there and seen a lot over a good period of time now. Our chairman has seen the club go from top to bottom and back up again about 3 times, in his 64 years of support in the football club. So he's seen it all, been there through thick and thin. And so, yeah, you're right. We've probably got a lot of strength from all those difficult times, but also through the good times as well. And I think, obviously now we're in a good moment. We're in a good period of time. Let's keep that going. Let's keep riding the wave, keep working hard. And who knows, like you said, who knows what can be achieved.
Yeah. Have you looked through the fixtures going forward? Are you aware of who you play on April Fool's Day?
Yeah, I'm aware. Yeah, I'm aware of that one.
It's I don't know whether the comedy script writers had put that one into the equation and things as well. I bet it was the first fixture you looked for, wasn't it, when you started to go
I
through
didn't
them
need
all?
to look for it. It was the first thing that people said to me as soon as I took the job, so I didn't need to. Yeah, look, it's. Let's be honest, and I said this when I got the job as well, Clem. 10 games there, I'm hardly a Watford legend. You know what I mean? I'll probably quite quickly be forgotten about there, and hopefully, if we do a really good job here, then like I said, I'm proud of representing that football club. But I'm here. I'm at Luton Town, and I'm so proud to be here. And this is what I want to be remembered for now. So we're going to give everything in this role. But yeah, it'll be a big game anyway. Never mind the fact that we worked there for a few weeks. It's going to be.
Well, listen. Listen, it goes without saying, good luck. Probably after this weekend, as my affiliation might be with the other team.
You told me that in your text the other day.
Yeah, I did indeed tell you that. Just while I've got you talking of former jobs, do you mind if you obviously were part of the England development setup? That means your shoulders rubbed with Gareth's from time to time. I don't know if there's anybody of any of your guys. Were you involved with any of the youngsters in the main squad, or is there just a little bit of a gap there?
Yeah, there's a bit of a gap. Not the ones that are in the seniors at the moment. Richie worked with Jude with the 17s.
This is Richie.
It's Kyle, sorry, one of my
your
assistants.
assistant.
Yeah, Richie worked with Jude. Obviously speaks so highly of him, as everyone does. I mean, he's been unbelievable, hasn't he? But we're really lucky that we got to learn from, like I said, people like Gareth and Steve and a lot of top people at the FA, and they're doing great. And Gareth texted me the other day when I get the text. We're out in Dubai. I got a text. I was watching the Argentina game, so he must have been watching the Argentina game as well. But he's still taking time out to give me a text, and he's some man. And they've done really well so far, but of course they'll be wanting to go further, and I think they're capable, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I think that's the conclusion many of us are starting to come to. Listen, he's a big boy. He knows the rules of the game, but do you think he's been rather unappreciated for exactly what? I mean, he's the second most successful England head coach of all time.
Yeah, this job is quite unforgiving. You know what I mean? And everyone has an opinion on your team selection. So we all, as managers, all feel that there's none more so under any more pressure than Gareth being the manager. It's just everyone. There's 60 million opinions, and you only get it right if you win. So, but you're right. Here's what you want now: the most tournament games of any England manager, hasn't he? And he's continuously got England to the latter stages and the very, very later stages of tournaments. And he will be, when he does eventually, hopefully it's not for a long, long time, eventually when he does move on, I think everyone will realise then, flipping heck, he was pretty good, him. He was pretty good. And you hear the players talk about him, and they've all got such respect and admiration for him. And the way he's brought them all together, never mind the winning football matches and the tactical side, but the way he's brought everyone together there from different clubs and the rivalries, I think is really special. His man management is up there with the very, very best, the very best.
Yeah, and I perhaps should have set this up at the start. I ask you these questions because you were head coach of the 16s. Were you not involved? Yeah.
Initially, when I went in, I was an under 20s assistant. So it was when the specialist coaching model was in place. So I came in as an in possession specialist coach with the under 20s, and then there was a rejig, a shuffle around, especially around the COVID period. So I then took over the under 16s head coach, but I was still an under 20s assistant as well. So I was getting a bit of both, the professional phase and then leading the group as well. So it was a really good job.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously you got a great insight into the senior setup because there is that meeting of minds. Everybody's working in a similar sort of geographical space at St George's Park. There is plenty of overlap, involvement of the development age coaches with the senior groups, maybe doing a bit of scouting or giving an opinion on the more senior levels and stuff. So you're kind of part of that setup, hence the reason for my questions.
Yeah, you are. You're really involved, and it's great because they all, I say they, like the senior staff, lean on, everyone as well at times, but they're great at giving back. It was such a shame, there's a bigger picture here, isn't it? COVID happened because then there was more restrictions in place. We couldn't get together as much, but then we got together on this, on online more, and so we still were able to have contact. But yeah, it's a great place, for any coach to work there for a period of time, to learn and be around outstanding people. Yeah, it was a great opportunity for me, one that I've thoroughly pleased that I did, Clem. And honestly, without taking that and doing that job, because I was in a great role at Wolves before that, without taking that, I don't think I'd have got the Forest Green opportunity, and then I probably wouldn't be sitting here speaking to you now because of it. So, yeah, very thankful for the great people at the FA.
Yeah. Well, listen, it could be a very good Saturday, couldn't it? From my perspective, maybe not around lunchtime for you, but certainly at the end of the day. It's great to talk to you, mate.
You too, Clem. Thanks, pal.